GM, welcome to another Wormhole Ecosystem Call. How's it going, Robbie?
It is going great. Super pumped, super exciting time in the market for Wormhole, for the interop category. So it's hard to be bad right now.
For sure. This call is going to be a little bit different, Robinson. Typically, we have you and me sort of going back and forth for an hour. One of the important community sort of feedback was they want to see more faces from the Wormhole ecosystem. They want to see partner projects come on in as well. So we're going to have you and me for 45 minutes. We're going to have the Mento team. We're going to have Dan and Urban come on later as well to talk about Portal Earn. And then we'll end it off with Juve talking about Sherry, which is one of our Wormhole Sigma teams. I think you're really going to like this one, Robinson. There's so much to talk about. And there's also been so much activity. What's your read on August? What was sort of your key highlights from August for Wormhole?
Well, I'm just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate the community doesn't want to hear me and you yap more. No, I'm kidding. It's definitely important to highlight. I mean, there's so many ecosystem partners. I mean, every week there's more and more being added, and it's important that we highlight them. So I'm glad we're doing that and highlighting some of the big initiatives. I know Dan and Urban are going to be talking about with Portal Earn. Yeah, look, I think there's a few things going on right now with the state of the internet economy. We have obviously the market's going up. When we see the market, it positively correlates to kind of more volumes, but at the same time, Wormhole is growing the product stack and the amount of chains we're connecting to. I think till the end of the year, we're going to connect probably to another like 8 or something like that. And so as we connect to each chain, we're the preferred interop protocol, right? So when we connect, all these applications and users are starting to send assets to the chain. Most recently, obviously Hyper EVM and Hyperliquid being so popular and us being not connected there now. So I think we're just seeing both an expansion on the product side, an expansion of Wormhole, and then also, a market that's getting a little bit more hot. Ooh,
Awesome.
Wormhole in Wyoming.
Wormhole in Wyoming. I wanted to get you on. I know this is probably a section we cover at the end. Brilliant sort of summary of the state of the internet economy. By the way, Robbie, one of the key things that came out of this photo was a lot of our ecosystem was saying you look a lot like Steve Jobs in this one. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But overall, I think Wyoming it was an interesting week to say the least. Why don't we start off with what the conference was about? How was your experience? Dan was also there. What were like the key highlights out of it? And then if you want, we can cover other stuff that happened that weekend as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would say there's two big things here, right? And appreciate the Steve Jobs comparison, but I've got miles and miles and miles and miles and miles to live up to here. But I think that, yeah, back to SALT. So the SALT is the conference in Wyoming. It happens every year. It's definitely more of I would say there's fewer people that go. It's more niche, but it's really focused on kind of this intersection. I know this is like a buzzword we talk about a lot between DeFi and TradFi, but I like to think this is actually where a lot of those conversations and ultimately those integrations happen. And so for Wormhole in particular, why we were here, why it's important, I'd say it's twofold, right? It's number one is Wormhole is the leading interop platform connecting these institutions with DeFi rails or on-chain rails, right? And we talked about this ad nauseum here. We're working with all these tokenization platforms are essentially using us to send these assets and settle between all these different chains. So that's BlackRock, Apollo, VanEck, et cetera. And all these companies are here or go to SALT and talk about kind of what's next and get feedback on what's been done. The second thing I would say is what I would categorize as public market access, right? So Wormhole is highly valuable in terms of its current traction, the leading interoperability protocol today. But what does it look like to get W more public market access? What do I mean by public markets, right? So W is obviously accessible on chain. It's accessible on centralized exchanges. What does it look like to make it accessible to institutional investors, to investors obviously in the US on the public markets? And so this is the type of place you want to be when making sure that ultimately happens and W becomes available for those types of investors. So really successful on both fronts. I tweeted this out yesterday, but a lot of this kind of work we've been doing over the summer and I think late summer here is going to come to fruition here in the next few months. And this conference and a lot of things that happen here, some of those things will start to come to fruition in these next few months.
That makes sense. And do you want to talk a little bit about what you were talking about on the panel itself? Like, what was the panel about? You see DeFi and TradFi in the background. do you go to these conferences and feel like the unification is happening? Like, what's your read as a founder who talks to a lot of TradFi players and a lot of DeFi players? Like, where is this market heading?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say here, I try to, when I get on stage here, I will say there is a good kind of stereotype. Well, you could call it bad stereotype that like a lot of people will get on these panels and talk about kind of make these broad statements and connections around DeFi and TradFi. And I think what I see my role, obviously beyond Wormhole, but just a leader within the crypto space, as breaking it down to like what those actual things are. I would categorize them as two. There's two things that are really happening right now, and the first is I'll say the RWAs, which we're all familiar with. What is happening with them? They are coming on chain, but then they're being utilized in these kind of permissionless ecosystems, right? So I've talked a lot about this before, and what I actually said on stage is I walked through me actually taking out a private credit position in a DeFi protocol, right? What were the steps I actually went through? And the hot take I made here is like it's what we can be happy about today is like it is happening, but my God, is it a rigorous process, right? Going from using securitized, taking out an Apollo private credit position, and then looping it on Morpho, it is possible, but we have a long way to go in terms of making that a little bit better. Maybe that's the first thing I'll say. And then the other thing is, look, I think a lot of people, the first kind of dipping their toe into crypto is actually holding these assets and having kind of a stake in crypto success. That stake in crypto success will drive the interest, right? And so the other bucket, besides like RWAs, institutions kind of getting additional usage out of these assets, the other bucket is, again, what I would say, and this is back towards W, what we were talking about before, is public market access, right? So a lot of these assets are figuring out ways to get in the hands of like larger investor pools. So when I say a lot of these assets, usually it's top 50, top 100 on CoinMarketCap, and that can be done with ETFs. Now we're seeing it done with digital asset treasuries. So the more and more public market access we can get, the more people kind of holding and having a stake in crypto, I think is net positive, because it's going to drive them to have an interest in, okay, what is actually going on? What is accruing value? What has revenue? What has users, et cetera? So those are kind of the two buckets that I'm talking about here on stage. And then, it's actually, there are some disagreements that happen up here. This was a good panel. But just kind of breaking down like, hey, we've got some stuff going here on the RWA side. Still got a long way to go, but we can be excited about current progress. And hey, really what's happening is like, we're just getting people to hold and invest in these, but that is a good step in the direction of them getting more interested in the actual underlying technology.
And that makes a lot of sense. I think as we progress through the cycles and we progress through like more TradFi players coming on, right now it's more about just sort of normalizing it in terms of like, okay, this is something that you can use and this is the technology that is accepted across the world. And then the next step is more about, how do we drive a lot more adoption? How do we make this technology a lot more easier for people to utilize? Robinson, talking about that week, there was obviously another fiasco that happened that week. A lot of the community members were really excited about this. We saw you talk about it on the roll-up stream as well. Are there sort of any end-of-month thoughts for the community? And I can tell you what the community perceived on the regional front. A lot of the community was really happy with how the team's been talking about Portal and how the team has been talking about pushing Portal forward, and that being a number one priority for the Wormhole contributor set. I think it would be really good for them to hear it directly from you, the co-founder of the foundation.
Well, one, I love that you're always the voice of the community, Rachit, and I think one thing you don't get enough credit for is like actively listening. I think a lot of crypto communities out there feel sometimes like they're yelling into a void, and I think I just think it's great how kind of locked in and clued in you are. So just kudos to you there. Yeah, look, I would say number one, if you're excited about our focus on Portal, just wait. It's when I talk about some of these things coming over the next few months towards the end of the year, like a lot of it is Portal related and in the best way. But when it comes to the Stargate acquisition, look, I could probably talk about this for an hour. The one thing I'll try to summarize. The one thing I'm excited about so much in crypto and everything that it can do. The one thing I think needs a ton of work is DAO governance, right? Ultimately, the Stargate holders were left with a worse off deal because they were kind of, what happened was there was a bit of a governance attack that was jammed down their throat, and there really wasn't a easy way to change the course, the predetermined outcome, if you will, which would be layer 0 quiet Stargate. The quorum I think when needed was like $2 million, is like less than 1% of STG voters, something like that. So it's just like you have less than 1% or 1% voting on the acquisition of this protocol. That's the first kind of crazy thing. I think there's a number of different things we can get into, but we even saw this week with Hyperliquid and them kind of having what seemed like a RFP, but it really wasn't. There was like backroom conversations. It's just the DAO governance as it pertains to acquisition and proposals, I think is just really broken. And I just feel for some of the STG holders that could have got a much, much better deal had a fair bidding process played out. And at Wormhole, we're always going to kind of call these things out and also do our best effort to, when we see things that are going wrong or see things that are valuable, try and put our foot down and get involved. And so, you'll always get that from us. Again, it was an unfortunate situation for STG holders, but we could only do so much there, and we did. I think the team did a really good job in cobbling together some capital and putting our best foot forward to try and change the outcome that was really predetermined.
Yeah, I think one thing to sort of note there is, throughout the year you have these moments where, the entire community just rallies together. Like imagine me, Smith, and Ilavo being in Bali. Like it was 4 a.m. when the Wormhole Foundation tweet came out. Like we had no idea something like that was even coming out, and like everyone's phone started ringing. People were calling me. It's I would say it's one of those moments where people in crypto actually come together, and like everyone in the space is just texting you and rooting for you, and it is entertaining to say the least. I had a great 48 hours in Bali in person talking about this. We do have Marcus in the waiting room. I'm going to get him on in a few minutes. But before that, Robinson, I want to hit a little bit on network expansion. I know this is something that we take really seriously. And this is something that we want to get, to our users a lot more. This month, we had Hyper EVM, which I would say is one of the most requested ecosystems that we would want to add on. And then we had Mezzo. Any thoughts on these? I know we announced Quiet this week. Are there any other chains that you would want to highlight to our ecosystem?
No, I would say, obviously Hyper EVM's exciting. We're going to get more involved in this ecosystem. Feel free to send your assets on Portal if you are using that, using Hyperliquid. Mezzo, very exciting Bitcoin chain. I know there was kind of a lot of Bitcoin L2 and additional chain hype, maybe a year ago at this point. I think Mezzo is just a team that's been around for a very long time. They've been building Bitcoin products for a very long time. And so we're excited about kind of what they're doing with Mezzo. And look, I think when it comes to network expansion, we're agnostic, of course. We're an infrastructure provider, but we're really going to start ramping up the amount of connections Wormhole has. We take a lot of time to make sure we're securely connected to chains, which may be a reason for why we move a little bit slower. But I think that takes precedent. But we're figuring out ways in which to connect to more chains faster, and we have a number of chain connections coming up by the end of the year. I think it's something anywhere from 5 to 8. And we're making sure that they're some of the biggest ones. So the community should be really excited for some of the big chain announcements we have to come.
Awesome. Some other major updates, we had Sui NTT go live, and then we had production grade ZK verifiers with Boundless. Sui NTT, Robinson, probably one of the biggest ones. As I'm gearing up to go to KBW, everyone, there's a huge Sui community there. We also have an ecosystem team, Overtake, that was one of the first integrators for Sui NTT. I think this is going to be a huge win for the Wormhole ecosystem as well.
Let me put this one simple. If you have an asset that exists on any other chain, it can now be native to Sui and be listed on Portal. So you can easily transfer it from the other chains, and you can have it on Sui, take advantage of the liquidity there, the users, developer ecosystem. It's that simple. So definitely this is a huge moment. Sui's a popular ecosystem. So launch that token on Sui. There's no reason not to.
Awesome. Cool. This is where it gets a little interesting. I'm going to add Marcus to the stage. GM Marcus, welcome to the show.
Hello. Good to see you. How are you
Marcus,
guys?
I feel like we've talked about Mento so much that me and Robinson just feel like team members at this point, and everyone in the community just recognizes Mento from the get start.
We are one team. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir. Do you want to give a quick intro for our community so that they recognize you? a lot more and understand your background?
Absolutely, very happy to give an intro here. Great to see you both, and yeah, very excited to be connecting more now to the community. My name is Marcus. I'm working on Mento. Mento is an on-chain FX platform. I'm coming from an economics background, have a PhD in monetary economics, worked in TradFi for a long time on all things monetary economics. And then for the past 8 years, working on stablecoins. Mento is an on-chain FX platform. This means basically Mento is allowing users to swap in and out of different currencies. I'm working on Mento together with Danny, who just joined us here as well. What does on-chain FX mean? Maybe also give everyone here a small intro on that. In the end, we're bringing FX on chain. Together with Wormhole, we're also bringing FX cross-chain to many other ecosystems. So far, Mento is live on Celo, and we are now going cross-chain and want to bring Mento to other ecosystems as well. FX, or foreign exchange, is simply put the market for currencies. In Web3, this means also the market for stable coins in different currencies. Stable coins are certainly the talk of this summer, this year, and also I think expect going forward, stable coins are becoming more and more important for users of Web3 technology. FX in traditional finance is the largest market in the world. The Bank for International Settlements estimates that in FX markets, $7.5 trillion are traded every day. And therefore, we think a part of this FX trading should come on chain. In the past, there was no proper infrastructure on chain that allowed for efficient FX trades, where you can easily swap a euro for a dollar and a dollar for a yen and a yen for a pound and so on. And Mento is bringing this infrastructure on chain. We have 15 currencies live. We can integrate more and more currencies going forward. And in the end, basically, Mento is FX infrastructure that allows users to swap at real world prices.
Awesome. Yeah. Marcus, just to say, like, nothing our community hasn't heard from Robinson, but it seems so much more bullish coming directly from the source. Denny, welcome on. I was just telling Marcus that we've been talking about Mento so much, it just feels like me and Robinson are also part of the team and actively just pushing it forward. Do you want to give a quick intro for the community as well? And then we can get started into talking about regional stablecoins. Denny, you're on mute. Sorry.
Apologies. Hey, everyone. Super pumped to be here. I'm Denny. I'm the CPO here at Mento. Yeah, like you said, Rachit, I feel like you guys are an ingrained part of our team as well. And we've been collaborating for quite a bit. And it's been awesome working with the Wormhole team and the whole Wormhole community. You guys have been awesome.
Awesome. Robinson, start us off. Set the stage. FX, ACC, like, we have all these different regional stablecoins. How does Wormhole fit into this vision? Like, what was the first point of contact in terms of like how this collaboration started? What's like the baseline? And then we can go on to like more of Mento's vision, and then we'll bring it back with like more regional stablecoin talk.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that, and just confirming, Rachit, you guys can still hear me, right? Cool. Yeah, it's no secret that stablecoins are just, what's driving the majority of the volume on chain. I think if we look at Wormhole stats, I don't know the exact percentage, but when you look at like any sort of cross chain transaction volume, it's obviously a lot of the top 5 native tokens, and then stablecoins, right? So when we think about things moving between chains, and that's really Wormhole's role, is to secure that. And if the majority of it is stable coins, then we obviously have to be there and focusing on the security, the speed, the latency, all of that around this. So that's, I would say, just like as simple as I can put it. Stable coins are becoming the more and more transacted value on chain and between chains. And so when I think about our role here, is it's like making sure that these stable coins can move between all these chains in a native capacity, right? Not have 5 different versions on each chain, and do so in a way where if I'm an institution looking to transact on chain, or a user, I can care less about the chain, right? And it's really, we get back to this concept of being on chain, meaning all the chains, not just one. So I mean, that's our simple role. I don't even want to overcomplicate this one. Like, we're just kind of this mesh layer in the background, making sure that this can all transact. I do have a question for Marcus though, and Marcus, not to put you on the spot, but why, in your opinion, have we not seen as much success with other? And this is like the age-old question, right? And so I'm sure you've been asked it a bunch, but it would be great for our listeners. Why have we not seen, non-USD denominated stablecoins be as successful as USD denominated ones? And I'm sure some of the answer is obvious, but I think it'd be great coming from you.
Absolutely. Happy to chat more about, and it's a great question. There's, I think, like a broader range of reasons for that. One simple reason, and this is exactly what we are working on, is other currencies haven't taken off because simply so far actually infrastructure was missing for it. And exactly as you said, with Wormhole, we want that like stablecoins can flow natively across different ecosystems. And then with Mento, we want to have infrastructure in place where also different currencies can actually flow and be exchanged across, again, like different currencies. And therefore, this infrastructure in the past has been missing. AMMs, or automated market makers, are not the right infrastructure to trade currencies, because price finding for the different currencies actually happens off chain. As I mentioned before, it's one of the largest markets in the world, and therefore prices so far at least are determined in the interbanking market and in other off-chain venues. And therefore an AMM is not the right basically infrastructure to bring these prices on chain. And therefore we focused on these, what we call fixed price market makers, or FPMMs. Also, missing infrastructure is one part of the reason. Second part of the reason, I think in the past, one of the key use cases for stablecoins, and one of the like first elements of product market fit for stablecoins, was giving people good and easy access to a dollar, even in regions of the world where people maybe don't have a stable currency, where there's high inflation and so on. And it's a killer use case. It still is. If you're in a country that has a high inflation, where the currency is not stable, it's amazing that you can get easy access to a stable currency. On the other hand, also the dollar in other currencies is volatile. I'm based in Europe. This year, the dollar lost in around 20% in value against the euro. And therefore, every region in the world has needs for different currencies. In Europe, projects might have a need for using a euro to not be exposed to FX risk. Euro stablecoins in general have been later to the game, also because interest rates in Europe have been negative for longer than in the US after the financial crisis. And therefore, basically Europe, as it happens often, is a bit of a late starter to the game. But also now Europe is catching up when it comes to the use of stablecoins. There's MiCA, the Markets in Crypto Asset Regulation in Europe, so that now also institutions can engage in stablecoins. So this is happening, and there's like regulation coming in so many like different regions of the world, that also now traditional institutions want to engage in stablecoins. So there's like market reasons like interest rates, there's infrastructure reasons that I've mentioned, there's regulatory reasons, but I think now we are at this inflection point where now actually users start to use different currencies, and I think this is about to change.
Yeah, that makes sense. And thank you for breaking down those buckets. Maybe just a quick follow on, and I can pass back to Rachit after this, is like, when you think about demand for these different, the different denominations, if you will, does it follow off-chain demand? Does it follow, what we would typically think like the popular country currencies are, or is there more nuance in like, what would be successful on chain or what would be adopted on chain?
Yeah.
So Sorry, Danny, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on this one. I think initially to start, as these kind of markets take off, you will see it mirror a lot of the traditional FX markets. So you'll see kind of demand or volume, so to speak, around like the G7 currencies, US, Euro, USD, Euro, JPY, GBP, etc. But I think you're going to see interesting dynamics play out because of what on-chain rails offer, and in addition to traditional FX rails. So to be able to settle, the dollar is the core currency for many markets and many transactions globally, especially on the Swift network. As you give the ability to settle instantly on chain for currencies like in developing markets, you might see more of those kind of over-index and really take shape and grow. In addition to that, what we're able to offer is really cheap spreads on some of these more emerging exotic currencies. So you're going to see like people find value in different use cases for different things, and developer building out different applications. And I think you'll see very interesting dynamics take shape as kind of adoption picks up.
I think that's really interesting. And I think, Danny, from like a product perspective, can you give our community a little bit of insight on how Mento manages all these different parameters and how it actually works? Like maybe a Eli 5 description for all of us.
When you say parameters, you mean like how the protocol functions, or
Yes.
yeah,
How it
where are you leaning towards? Yeah, so if you think about the pricing, what we do is we take all the rates off chain from the different FX markets across the world, and we bring those on chain with our network of oracles. We use Chainlink, Redstone. We have our own in-house built oracles as well. So we're able to, like if you're a user in, I don't know, say like India or Argentina or anywhere, you actually can't get access to these rates unless you're an institution, like you're banking with like Citibank or any of the international banks. What we're able to do, and what blockchain rails democratizes, is being able to access these rates through our Oracle network on chain. And I think everyone has the experience going to an airport and seeing the rates at the exchange desk. If you go on like Google Finance, you'll see they're charging like a 20% spread or something like that. That's what we're trying to like eliminate by bringing these markets on chain and giving everyone access to that.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I feel like the airport analogy is one that everyone's sort of used to. I feel like once that goes away, people's lives are just going to become a lot more easier. Robinson, one thing that I wanted to hand to you before we end this particular segment is one thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is how much time such partnerships take to materialize. Especially like the bigger ones. I remember seeing a photo of you and the Mento team in our New York office as like a pre announcement. Is that something that we're going to continue doing from your account? Like how much time does a partnership like this actually take? Can you walk us through it, like in terms of timelines?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I just want to touch on Denny's description. I think it's you explained that very simply, and I hope the community was listening here. And it just sounds like to me that Mento is going to be, especially for not just for long tail, but especially for long tail to start, like the best place to do any sort of trades when it comes to whatever currencies you're looking to swap in and out of, which I think is a really exciting and elegant model. And you're actively disrupting something, which sometimes in crypto we try to like make solutions to problems that don't exist. And I think this is a good example of making a solution to a problem that does really exist. So I just always love to see stuff like that. Look, as it pertains to the crypto mindset is very short term a lot of times, right? Because if you think about it, a lot of the dialogue and discourse exists on crypto Twitter. The majority of crypto Twitter tends to be traders. To be successful on crypto Twitter, you have to be short term focused. You're chasing narratives, etc. I think it inherently works against the way in which you are successful as a builder in crypto. And building anything, doing anything meaningful takes time. And yes, things on the timeline, again, move fast, but really I think the best builders are doing things on 3, 6, 12-month time horizons, because again, that's how long doing anything meaningful takes. And so with obviously with the Mento team, but with working with BlackRock, working with Apollo, VanEck, I think crypto is moving to the world of more and more of these things are going to take time. You know, announcements of announcements. It's good to like talk people through and educate them on the process. I think that's what I view more of what we were doing with Mento. But I think announcements of announcements are going to lose their potency. I think, you know, hey, this takes a while, but you announce it, and then there's, you know, tangible things are kind of becoming more and more, I think, of what will be needed and what's going to be like, you know, interested by communities, right? They're going to start seeing through this kind of like smoke and mirrors of announcements and things that may never pan out, right? I'm not going to name any names, but I know a lot of protocols that will announce something, and then look, you actually like go back to review that announcement, and you know, most of them don't pan out. There's a few top of mind right now, but again, I won't talk about those. So I think, look, just to reiterate, like the crypto actively works against what I think is needed to be the most successful in the space as a builder, and we will continue to try and put results over words. And this one we've talked about so much is because I think it's really exciting. When we talk about upgrading the financial system, what does that really mean? I mean, to me, if I look at like a metric, it means bringing more of these assets or transactions on chain, right? Because on chain is where you're going to upgrade the financial system, whether it's 24/7 trading, instant settlement, better rates, what have you. And so FX in particular is like one of these dark horses we don't talk a lot about that has the biggest ability to impact those metrics. And yes, it's a big problem space, but that means that there's a lot of potential solutions that can come out of it and a lot of impact. So it's going to take time, but you know, I think that Mento team is one of the best teams to tackle this, and I'm excited and honored that we can be here to support it. And you know, again, things take a while that are good, and yeah, hopefully that helps answer your question, Rachit. I wasn't too all over the place.
Yeah, I think
I just want to, I just want to add on to that. Thanks for the kind words, Robinson. I think like if I were to just take a step back and, you know, put my investor hat or long-term hat on, not like a crypto investor, but like an investor in projects, you really want to look for those things that expands the TAM that exists in the current world. So like a lot of people think about, I think you made this analogy earlier, Robinson. A lot of people talk about like fitting blockchain into existing problems, but what are people building that like actually expands the overall TAM or the overall market before what you're building? And I think those are really like the special projects and the special things that people build. Just wanted to call that out.
Awesome. Well, it's been an amazing time chatting with you, Denny and Marcus. Me, Robinson, the entire Wormhole contributors that are huge fans, and we will actively promote Mento in any form or shape that we can. For context, everyone, Mento team is also going to be in Korea, also going to be in Singapore. If you'd like to meet them in person, we will also be there. So yeah, stay tuned. Thanks so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you so much for having us. Looking forward to seeing you in Seoul, in Singapore. Thanks.
Everywhere.
Thanks, guys.
Everywhere. All right. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Everywhere, Rachit. Wormhole worldwide, as they say.
Everywhere. Wormhole Global Initiative. Cool. All right, Robinson. That was our hype segment. I hope you're hyped up. I know I only have you for 10 more minutes, but this is arguably your favorite section of
Love highlights
of the call. Let's just sort of dive right into it. It's probably your favorite one. You know, when I saw Mike in that suit in front of the office, I thought that was like so beautiful, almost as beautiful as me asking you for an OOTD video, and you know we missed that out this time as well.
Oh my god!
Talk us through
I'll
this.
never live that down.
Talk us through this one. I feel like this is one of those monumental. You know, I was actually looking at the press releases. This news actually got a lot of coverage in Brazil. In terms of like on-ground coverage, and our Brazilian community was really happy to see this. Obviously, the Pit team does a lot of activations in Brazil as well. I'm guessing that was one part of it. But talk us through this. Pit, one of our closest teams. This announcement super bullish. You know, what happened? What does it mean? Where are we going from here?
Yeah, I mean, look, this to me is one of the most massive steps in the direction of why a lot of people, especially like cypherpunks, et cetera, originally got into the space. And the idea is that the idea is around immutability. Like that's what blockchain ledgers do really well, is that they create this immutable ledger, immutable being, meaning largely it can't be changed. So you have like a proof of history, right? And I think a lot of people, not to be too meta here, but like a lot of people, there's a saying that goes, history is written by the winners, right? Which just generally implies like things can be changed. And I'm not saying that economic data is forged or anything like that, but it's a step in the direction of bringing more meaningful data, as it pertains to governments on this immutable system. And I think just moving in the direction where more and more important information that ultimately becomes a part of history is on chain, this thing that can't be changed, is just positive in general, and really a testament to why a lot of people got in this space originally. So maybe I'll start with that. Obviously, it's also exciting is because information is, the faster you can get information, reliable information, that can be used for trading, it can be used for decision making, various things on chain, right? So this is just a huge step in that direction as well. And then of course, Pyth being selected to do that is just absolutely incredible. One thing I will continue to scream from the rooftops that just people don't always grok is Pyth is entirely built on Wormhole. And yes, Wormhole does, majority of the industry's asset transfers between blockchains, but it also powers protocols like WorldChain's World ID, right? Pyth, now used by the US government to broadcast data on chain, that data moves to all these chains via Wormhole, right? So that it's just a massive win for Pyth, and kudos to Mike Cahill and his leadership and the team over there, but it's a massive win for Wormhole too. And so I'm just, this is like one of the more exciting things for me. And one thing I just really want the Wormhole community to understand is like, we're powering so much behind the scenes. It's a lot of asset stuff, but also not a lot of asset stuff, right? It's a lot of stuff that's ultimately used in service of assets. And so just, again, kudos to the Pyth team, really exciting step for governments, and exciting step for Wormhole as well.
I think that's a really interesting call out. I remember during the Trump meme coin mania cycle, and when Trump was moving assets around, you tweeted out that Donald Trump is using Wormhole powered assets, and I feel like that's sort of a sentiment or something that the community forgets, that a lot of these assets, a lot of these protocols that people use on a day-to-day basis are powered by Wormhole, and I feel like that's where our marketing team does a really great job of highlighting this out, like that, hey, like Wormhole's everywhere, and I think that sentiment is really powered by announcements like these. So this was awesome. The next one that I know you're super passionate about is the institutional side. We saw VBILL go to Aave Horizon. Do you still talk to the VanEck guys? Like, how's the relationship there? How's the relationship with other institutions? Is there any institution that you can front run the announcement and give us a preview announcement?
Absolutely. Look. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Russ. Sorry.
No,
I'm getting overly excited about it.
Yeah, no, I know. Mike too.
No, look, this is exactly what you want to see, right? We talk a lot about. I talked earlier about what a wormhole in Wyoming, and I think you listen to these panels, and it's a lot of like hand waving and the connection of TradFi DeFi. This is literally that, right? Like I want to continue to see week over week progress where these I believe VBILL's a money market fund. These like off-chain funds are brought on chain, and there's more kind of functionality and composability unlocked. Like this being used in Aave is RWA is being used in DeFi. That's essentially what this is, which is super exciting. And so we'll continue to see more of these. Obviously, Wormhole's the exclusive provider for VBILL, for any VBILL cross chain. So if you have your VBILL on like Solana or something, and you want to take advantage of Aave, you can move that over with Wormhole. But we're going to continue to have a bunch of these come out. I think that obviously BlackRock is huge. Apollo is huge. We have probably one of the larger ones, and one I'm most excited about coming very, very soon. That's as much information as I can give. But like we're not stopping when it comes to the institutional front. We're leading the industry as one of the main kind of tech providers alongside Securitize, alongside Ondo, and we will continue to do that. So yeah, this is just another big win in terms of RWAs and DeFi.
Awesome. One thing for the community, if you ever spot a Wormhole contributor on the road or at a conference, ask them to name every institutional partner that Wormhole has in one go. When I was in Bali, I had Nalavo do this. Robinson, I'm putting you in the hot seat. Name every institutional partner that Wormhole has.
Oh my gosh, BlackRock, VBILL, Apollo, Janus Henderson, Mercado Bitcoin. I almost slipped and said the one that's coming up. Centrifuge is an on-chain partner, but they work a lot with a lot of these funds. We have Janus Henderson has a multiple funds. We have Hamilton Lane. We have who else? Maybe you could say Circle as an institutional partner through Pyth. We have partners like Jane Street. We have partners like the CME. We have partners like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can name them all. There's a lot of partners through Pyth. We have. What about more assets on chain? What am I missing? I'll stop there. I probably didn't get half, to be honest, but I'll take the big ones. I think I got the big ones.
I'll just shout out Securitize as one of our closest and more dearest ones. But Robinson, yeah, that was like a trick for me to get you to say the upcoming one, but
it almost worked. I literally was like said the first letter in my mind. But.
Awesome. As we get closer to the end of our segment with Robinson, one more partnership that I would like to highlight is we have expanded to Unichain, and you can now bridge over Sol and Hype to Unichain. Robinson, this is one of our biggest partnerships. I know this isn't technically August, but this is September 1st week, but this was just too good to not include in this announcement. Talk to us a little bit about Unichain. Talk to us a little bit about assets going to Unichain. What's the word on the ground?
We have token standards like ERC20 on Ethereum, like SPL on Solana, and then we have multi-chain token standards that help them go in and out of those, and that's NTT. Sol, Hype, NTT assets, they rely on Wormhole to go between chains. Obviously, the chain in which we're talking about right now is Unichain. We're working on a big campaign with them to bring Sol, to bring Hype to the chain. This is a big deal. These are big assets. This is obviously Uniswap and the team are just great to work with. We were longtime partners. Back a couple years ago, Uniswap did an assessment for bridge partners they wanted to work with. Wormhole was the only one that was unanimously, unequivocally approved, which is just extremely exciting and a testament to our team, everything they've done with security over the years, because it was largely focused on security given the size and systemic nature of these assets. So this is just another kind of proof point for the trust and to your point, Rachit, earlier, like talking about just wormholes everywhere, right? And so NTT is continuing to see a lot of dominance, continuing to see adoption, and I don't think that's slowing down.
Awesome.
I'll make sure it doesn't slow down.
Yeah. One of the things that you will see the Wormhole community do a lot more of, and if you are part of the fellowship, you'll also see a lot of our team interact with fellows towards this is, NTT powers a lot of assets, but I think what gets lost in translation is what you can actually do on the destination chain. One thing that I'd love to get feedback on from everyone listening is we made a really conscious effort of communicating what you can do on Unichain through our marketing this time. If you have any feedback on how this can be better, always let us know. All of our DMs are always open. We are always open to feedback. Cool. Robinson, next one. I probably should have had this one first after the Mento one. I felt like we could have talked about regional stablecoins so much that people might have gotten bored. But this is one of our biggest partnerships. UERC natively on 4 chains. We have the Mayan guys involved as well. Talk to us about this partnership and how, I think one of the things that I get really confused about, Robinson, from like an outsider's perspective, and a lot of the community also asked me this, like, how do these assets choose which chains they want to go to?
It's a good question. I think there's like general guidelines for how, but it tends to be different, right? Maybe if I were to put them in a few buckets, the first one is which one has mind share, right? That can be a little not as tangible. That could be or it could be tangible, but it could just be mind share as one bucket. The other one is kind of your baseline chain metrics. So that's like what has the most, transactions, right? What has the most TVL? Most users. Some of those can kind of go hand in hand. So it's just you want to be where the most liquidity and activity is. That's why a lot of people wanted to go to Solana over the past year or so, let's say, and then Sui kind of had that same thing. So it's kind of like baseline metrics, if you will. And I would say the third, and this one is less common, but there are grants associated with a lot of these chains. These chains are typically have really big treasuries, and sometimes they will give out grants for these projects or these assets to go to these chains. That is not what happened here. I'm not saying that's happened here. I have no clue about that. But I'm just saying those are typically kind of the three buckets, we'll say. And my feedback is always this: like, we benefit, right? Wormhole benefits from assets going to as many chains as possible, but we benefit more from our partners being successful. And I think the key to being successful when it comes to multi-chain is taking your time and focusing on a few networks first. Focus on 2 to 4. Make sure you build deep liquidity, build use cases with DeFi applications. Obviously users using those assets is important. But focusing on just a few is a good way to be successful, and then you expand from there. We're not going to come out here and say, go to 10, 15 chains immediately, just because, we benefit from the volume. We benefit more from our partners being successful in the long term. And so, hopefully that answers your question, Rachit. Those 3 buckets, and then that's how I think about kind of going multi-chain with an asset is important too. But this is a huge win. EuroC is probably the biggest Euro stable out there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think one thing that I want to call out here is, anyone, if you're ever thinking about multi-chain strategy, our team is like, we geek out on this stuff. Like, this is like what we do 24/7. We're always happy to have an active conversation. Our BD team is cracked. They will always give you great GTM advice. This is something that we do for all of our partners. I can probably have Robinson speedrun all the partners again in terms of GTM, but we don't want to front run any.
There's like over 200. I can't do that.
That's probably a good test for like interns joining. Like, name every partner. I'm going to use that one in our next interview processes. MUSD, Robinson. I know we talked about Meso chain expansion earlier. Talk to us about this partnership in terms of, why is there a benefit in terms of a native stablecoin going to other ecosystems? I think this is something that we're seeing on crypto Twitter a lot. Like, ecosystems want to have their own native stablecoins. What sort of value proposition do they have to go beyond their home ecosystem? And is that something that we'll see as a continued trend moving forward?
Yeah. I think so. I think what's important about this, or I'll answer your question, but what we've come to realize is I do think Bitcoin has a purpose as this kind of just doomsday asset, if you will, that everything goes to shit, you can use it for payments. But what I think we've realized over the years is Bitcoin is actually a really good store of value, not a super good way to transact on chain, given latency, gas fees, etc. And stablecoins are really good for that. That being said, Bitcoin is a store of value and it's very important. A lot of people have Bitcoin and is obviously a huge and the most, unarguably the most important and popular asset when it comes to digital assets or crypto. But people don't want to spend it. They don't want to give it up. They want to hold it. All right. Store of value means you're storing your value there. So when you have this concept, how do you adopt, right? We adopted from Bitcoin being this thing that you pay with to Bitcoin being this thing you hold. And so what I think Meso did a really good job of is the core kind of component of their chain that they're initially launching with is, hey, we know a lot of you have Bitcoin. A lot of you have put your Bitcoin on chain, but you want to still be able to transact against it. So MUSD, why it's so cool is you could take that Bitcoin that you have that you want to hold. You could take a loan or you could draw liquidity out of that Bitcoin in the form of MUSD. You could do it in a very over collateralized way, so you have no, you're not going to get liquidated, etc. And so I think that is why it's so interesting, right? You can't do that on the Bitcoin blockchain, right? It's a UTXO chain. It doesn't have a smart contract environment, so you can't build this type of functionality. So that's why I think you see Bitcoin, and the idea is that you do it in a decentralized and safe way. You see Bitcoin move to these other layers like Ethereum or Meso, and then they can provide that smart contract functionality where you can draw liquidity out of the store of value you have. So it's really that simple. And I think this is exciting. We're going to see these Bitcoin back stablecoins more and more because there's so much liquidity in Bitcoin, right? So anyway, I'll stop there. I know we got another segment, but kudos to the Meso team. Excited about MUSD.
This has been awesome. Thanks so much, Robinson, for joining in. Robinson, one thing that I'll leave you with is our regional teams, our fellows have gotten really good with AI translations. So if you see a video of yourself speaking in Portuguese or Hindi or French, like don't be surprised. That is you.
Yeah, and I natively speak all of those languages, so
You
it's
get to
not
speak
AI
all.
either.
All right, thanks so much,
Thanks,
Robinson.
Rachit.
Thank
Bye.
you. Awesome. All right. On to the next segment. I am going to add our next guests. We have Urban and Dan. Welcome on to the live stream, guys.
What's up?
Awesome. All right. Urban, do you want to give a short introduction? I feel like the community already knows Dan a lot. We want to reintroduce yourself to the community.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Urban. I've been at the foundation for quite a bit. Maybe you've seen me around in different roles lately. I actually have this shirt on me. It says Wormhole Sigma, a program we've done last year with a couple of teams. So I've recently moved into a bit of a more broader role called Special Projects, and I'm working on a project that we are going to be talking about today.
Awesome. Dan, set the stage for us. This is something that Robinson has talked a lot about on the Wormhole Ecosystem Call in the past. He's also gone on a lot of podcasts to talk about the evolution of Portal. The community wants to hear from you in terms of, how have you seen this growth been in the past 3 or 4 years? How has Portal priority changed? How has the product changed? How is our team thinking about it before and moving forward? Oh, sorry, Dan, we cannot hear you. Dan, can you say something now?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
A lot better. Yeah, a lot better.
I used my fancy mic and it clearly didn't work. Yeah, going back to the very beginning, Wormhole's been around for about 5 years, and one of the first products that was built on Wormhole was Portal. Portal has evolved quite a bit over time as the industry and just the interoperability space have evolved and improved. I think one of the biggest differences between now and back then is how the industry and Wormhole have moved more towards native burn and mint assets and away from everything being wrapped. Just everything being wrapped led to so many poor user experiences on any bridge because it was confusing for the average user as far as where they're coming from, where they're going, and what asset they should be transferring. So because of the shift to NTT or native token transfers on Wormhole, the user experience on Portal and for any asset issuer that's using Wormhole more broadly is just improved dramatically. And then now for Wormhole, Portal is by far the UI that has driven the most volume to Wormhole. I think it's somewhere over 52 or 53 billion out of the 64 or so 65 billion total. So tons of users, hundreds of thousands of users, over 1 million wallets, and the product has just been improving over time. And now where we are is Portal is definitely one of our biggest focuses. Portal and Mayan, I think, are the two that are probably driving the most volume for Wormhole. And as we, of course, look to expand our user base, we're looking to drive up volume. All these things have come together into, I think, what is one of me and Urban's best cooks of all time. Him and I have been working together for years. One of my good friends, and this has just been a really fun project to work on because it's all kind of all of our goals, all of our products are kind of all coming together in this initiative. So we're really excited to get this out soon and start to reveal some of the things that we've got under wraps as part of Portal Earn.
Awesome. And Urban, I want to hand it over to you, Mr. Head of Special Projects. What is Portal Earn? A lot of the community has just seen me, and I obviously try to give the best answer, but I want to hear it direct from the brain that ideated it.
Yeah, I think the best way of putting it is that Portal Earn is a reward and incentive kind of like layer on top of Portal, or potentially even broader on top of Wormhole, right? So it is a means via which we can incentivize and reward people for what they're currently already doing, right? Which is transferring on Portal. But as you have on this graphic, it can and will involve a little bit more, right? We have staking, for instance, here as well, which is one of the larger things that you can do with Wormhole today with the W token as well. So I think the Portal Earn, also internal evolution as we have seen it and everything, is really, really cool to observe. It's such an awesome project. Like Dan said, it's just one of the most impactful things that I've personally dedicated any time to. It's incredible to see what this is going to unlock. But ultimately, it is basically meant to be a reward and loyalty layer for Wormhole.
Awesome. Do you want to tell the community where this product is inspired from? Like, a lot of DeFi and a lot of crypto is sort of derived from existing products. Where did the idea of Portal Earn actually come from? And what is like the closest synergy that any user can draw to, in anticipation of Portal Earn launch?
Yeah, I think, we've all been in the crypto space for a bit, and we've seen various types of engagement programs, various types of points programs. And, a lot of people have tried a lot of different things. I actually think the biggest inspiration here has come not specifically from any of these crypto-specific things, crypto engagement platforms, but rather outside of this space, because we've had this for a very long time. And I can tell you firsthand, I have my banking app. It's called Revolut here in Europe, and I use this on a daily basis for transacting, storing whatever they've got crypto on there, whatever that is. And I see points accumulating nonstop, right? And I click on it, and I see a reward tab. Oh, what is that? But what can I do with this? So it kind of opens up a new layer of engagement with this bank. At the end of the day, it's a bank, but suddenly I get to use it for airline tickets and booking hotels and whatnot. So I think, at least from my end, the biggest inspiration for any kind of gamification or like loyalty layer on top of this comes from outside of crypto, because we've been using this. I mean, so many people have a loyalty, are part of a loyalty program for airlines, right? A miles program or something like that, which is like your typical kind of, let's say, the OG points program that we've all engaged with. So I think that is like the true inspiration for something like that. Now, taking a step forward, you kind of need to adapt it a little bit to the space that we live in and work in. And the culmination of that is Portal Earn, which hopefully we're gonna launch very, very soon as well.
Awesome.
I'll just add to that. We did this. The cool thing was this obviously isn't the first points or loyalty program ever, but to Urban's point, what we were able to do is take the best, or like our favorite components of airline miles programs, credit card points programs, decentralized application points programs, and even centralized exchange programs. We kind of took the best and mixed a lot of those things together to lead to this experience that's going to be fun for users to use. It's going to drive us towards our kind of volume and user goals, but it's also going to be massively valuable for our partners. So this is chains, new chains that are launching. This is assets, or any asset issuer who's using Wormhole is going to benefit greatly from this program. And then even applications on these chains, if they want to be driving volume into their app, we can partner with them on specific programs within Portal Earn. So what we built with Portal Earn is it's actually more of a platform that we can use for a highly flexible variety of use cases, more than like a specific like one track type of program. So over time, you'll start to see why I say it's a platform, because there's a lot of different creative ways that we can use this.
Lots of different moving pieces. Dan, one thing that I've been trying to specify a lot on these ecosystem calls, and whenever I talk to people on the ground, one thing that people don't realize is how long stuff like this takes to put together. How long has the team been working on Portal Earn internally?
I don't know.
Maybe I can take this one then. I think me and Dan started ideating on this a couple of months ago. I think early summer or something like that would be a good timeline. And then you slowly start moving pieces into place. Engineering starts to kick in, and once you get into more of the engineering details, suddenly more details are required, right? Like you suddenly you go from high level to, oh, what's the actual implementation detail? What's the math on this, right? What do we actually want to do here? So I think it's been a really, really productive time over the past couple of weeks and months. We've discovered many, many things that we can also do in the future. It may be something that we can't roll out just at the start. But yeah, it's been going on for a few months internally. And that's why I'm saying I think we're looking at a very, very soon launch date as well. But launching, it's just the start, really. You got to get something out the door, but the actual work, I think the real work starts in the weeks and months afterwards, as you see feedback roll in. Yeah, looking back, I think we did a couple of really, really good choices, and we'll see what the community thinks when we finally unveil this.
Looks like the Notion doc was started on May 28th, so almost 4 months.
There you go.
There you go. It doesn't get more accurate than that. I think, one thing that I've been hearing from the community is they've just all been speculating on what 10,000 XP means. I think answering that is probably not appropriate. But what we can answer is, what are some of the key user interactions that people can expect once Portal Earn is live? Like, what are things that people can do to get ready for it? Like, is there anything that people should sort of pay more attention to? Any alpha for the community, super appreciated.
Yeah, maybe I can start. Obviously, the core of all of this is going to be transferring assets or like cross-chain swaps, leveraging Mayan. But there'll be different point categories for different actions that you can take, which we're calling activities within Portal Earn. And then another thing to watch out for is, like, this program will evolve over time, and there'll be new ways of earning points, or even earning a boosted amount of points for different types of actions. So one will be boosted assets or boosted chains. So there'll be specific assets or chains that if you use them in your transfer, then you will earn a higher number of points. Let's call it 3x or 5x, depending on what rolls out. And these will constantly be being added over time. Another one is these partner kind of tracks or programs that we're running with a partner team. This could be a chain, this could be an application, but this will also have an increased amount of points. And sometimes with some of our partners, they'll also be contributing additional points or rewards on top of what we're providing. So that's a little bit of preview. I don't know, Urban, anything else you want to add?
I think you covered the transferring part, the portal part well. I would add staking is a big component here. We're obviously trying to find out a good balance, how to intersect these, but currently the beef of it, or the meat of it, is the transfers as well as the staking part. So head over to the W dashboard and stake your W.
Awesome. I think the TLDR is go use Portal. Tell us what you think. Tell Urban what you think. I think he's the one that needs all the feedback right now. All right, Dan, Urban, thank you so much for your time. I think this segment's been awesome, and we're going to have you on next month as well to talk about what's next with Portal Earn. Oh, yeah, well, sorry, last question. I have to poke you, Urban, a little bit. When is launch date?
Very soon. So I think, not to be specific, because timelines can.
I think we lost Urban. TLDR very, very soon. All right, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Urban. Thanks for jumping on. Let me line up our next guest. Cool. All right. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys. All right. Let me see how to get him on the stage. GM, welcome to the show.
Hey, Rachit,
Finally,
thank you.
what's up, man? It's been a very long time.
Yeah,
Well, I spoke to you 2 weeks ago, so probably not that long of a time. How have you been? How's everything going? I have a ton of questions for you. But before we get started, do you want to give a quick intro and sort of give the community context on Sherry? But let's start the foundation and then we can.
yeah. First, thank you for having me here in the Wormhole Community Call. Yeah, basically, I'm Juvenal, co-founder at Sherry. What we are building is very simple. We are trying to make the on-chain actions to be working everywhere. No matter if you are on the same app, if you are on a social media, or you're on a fintech app, you can use the whole Web3 ecosystem. That's what we're building.
Awesome. So for context for everyone else, Sherry has been a Wormhole Sigma team. Urban, who was on last, was the mastermind or the curator of the Wormhole Sigma program. Before we get more into the Wormhole Sigma program and your experience with it, I know that we've launched recently. I know that we've got a lot of community reception from Sherry. Is there like a specific call out to the community in terms of, hey, go do this on Sherry or go do that on Sherry?
Yeah, right now, as you know, we've been building this for a long time, as you mentioned at the very beginning of the call. Right now, what we are asking is a lot of feedback. We are launching a new platform called the Sherry Studio. This is a platform where people, anyone, no matter if you're technical, not technical, you can use and share experiences from blockchain to any other platform. So it's a simple link. So we have a no-code tool that you can basically prompt. You will create a mini app and then you will share it in any platform. So we are requesting that feedback. So we have right now a private beta. The private beta, it's like not that private because basically you just join and interact. But actually to see the platform, you need to share like a referral mini app, and that referral mini app is just a minting. So if you want to go and do it, that's the way you can help us. And also we have a great community on Discord. So also if you want to check it out, give us feedback there. We are like always having new members, and we are glad to have them there.
You know what's really interesting? I saw Urban make one of the mini apps as well, and I ended up using it. I think I'm going to this week and create my own as well. Talk to me about the Wormhole Sigma program. Like, where did you actually hear about the Wormhole Sigma program? Let's start there.
Yeah, cool. The Wormhole Sigma program. I remember this was very at the beginning of the year. I was in Argentina. I'm from Latin America. There's a lot of great community over there. There's a lot of startups over there. And I remember that there's a cool movement called Crecimiento that is basically putting government and also the community and startups together on a space. So it's like a workspace. And I remember a random guy told me hey, there's gonna be this wormhole cool stuff, and I was like, oh, cool, because I'm basically building cross-chain interoperability for I want to do that because that's part of our mission, that to be abstracting all the complexity. And I was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense for us. And then I joined the Sigma Sprint. And after joining the Sigma Sprint, then I joined the Sigma Accelerate. And that was my journey, and it was incredible. It was one of the biggest experience for me as founder, to have real good conversations with other founders, like for example Pedro from Rion, that show us his vision. He teach us a little bit of how was his journey, the stuff that he create, how he positioned his infrastructure in that time. So that was cool to have that kind of feedback and to also see his experience.
Awesome. Just for the community's context, Wormhole Sigma program. Last year, we started the Sigma program. It started off as a hackathon of sorts, and then it moved on to more of an incubation style accelerator. We ended up working with about 8 to 10 teams. I can name all of them if you'd want. Sherry was one of them. Polarity was one of them. Polyquest was one of them. Pump Out was one of them. We worked with teams across a lot of the regions. a lot of these teams actually ended up becoming the foundation of our regional programs. Polyquest in Korea and Vietnam help us out a lot in terms of on-ground activations. Polarity in Hong Kong help us out a lot as well. This is something that is up and coming in LATAM as well. Over the course of my conversations with the Sherry team, we've just become insanely bullish on the potential of LATAM. And Wormhole LATAM is on the horizon. I'd say it's very close to fruition. Do you want to talk a little bit about the LATAM crypto landscape? Like, how's your experience been? What was it like 5 years ago? How's it like right now? How's it evolved?
Yeah, it's massive. Like, I remember that, yeah, more or less I've been in the ecosystem around 5 years. I remember at the first stages, no one was talking really about the tech. It was more around like, oh, I found Ethereum, I found Solana, I found that kind of, and it was more like speculative, like conversations. Then it started moving a little bit more into the technical. I remember that there were some like workshops where some from all the community on blockchain, right? Like, no, you name it, Chainlink, Solana, Avalanche, Wormhole. They were doing a lot of stuff, but some few devs were working on that stuff. I remember when this exploded was when the stablecoins arrived, and then when these stablecoins arrived, there were like a lot of startups building in top of these rails, and one of the biggest succeed on Latin America is that we have like inflation. The inflation rate is very high in too many countries, so it was easy for like the community to see, hey, you can save your dollars here, and you will be safe from the inflation. So that was something that was a game changer, because then you didn't need to explain the community or to explain the society what was crypto about. It was like a necessity. So that was the first like good stuff. And now there's a lot of cool solutions that are self-custodial. People start using DeFi protocols. People start using and building new protocols. So that's something that it's like completely different. Like right now, you can see companies in Latin America building like real world assets for like Argentina or for Colombian assets. In Mexico, for example, and from Mexico, we have CETES, that it's like the government like treasury bond. There's like new solutions on top of that, so you can basically buy that kind of assets. So there's like a whole new, like, I could say, fintechs like that are using now crypto rails to actually power those experiences. So and everyone is building in like different ways. Like they are some are building new wallets, some of them are building like niche solutions for a specific market, real estate or whatever. So it's bullish to be on
Yeah.
this.
No, for sure. And I just want to remind you, this movement starts with founders like you. It
Yeah.
starts with you guys, picking up the ball and, making the ecosystem progress forward. I'm pretty sure whenever you're traveling in Latin America or in Mexico and you meet budding founders, the first thought that you have is, how do I help this person? I think when I was joining at the Wormhole Foundation, that was sort of Urban's mission as well. Like that was a lot of the stuff that we used to brainstorm around, according to the Sigma program. Do you have any like key highlights from the program? Like, okay, this was awesome. This was awesome. Any key highlights from that program?
Yeah, from the program, as I told you, like the first was the roadmap. To structure a product roadmap is complex. So I remember that we have a lot of sessions regarding like how to build product. I remember also another big session that we had was with Kim uh, from Big Brain Holdings. So he helped us a lot to refine like how it's gonna be our thesis with ventures. That was also yeah, because it's different. Like sometimes you are selling your product as for the business, like if there were the business, but no, you need to sell like, hey, those guys are investing in you, and your pitch needs to be a little bit different. They want to win money like investing in you. So that also helped us a lot to have like different like pitches, one for like business, other for like investors, and actually the help that he has, like he also gave us like a private chat so we can start building more like a more close relation. Um, I remember also Pedro from Rion. This was like, for me, was a game changer because I'm building infrastructure. So he built infrastructure at that time, and now Rion is one of the biggest on the mobile experience. So for me, it was like to really understand how he was struggling at that time and the decision that he was having, because it's everyone was building wallets, new wallets, but hey, we want to build the standard for wallets and to put it on mobile, and that was like his differentiator. So yeah, those talks also help us refine our product. In terms of the wormhole interoperability, we have like technical stuff like that help us understand a little bit better the infrastructure. We have a great team, to be honest, like a tech team. So it was very easy to understand and to understand how our infrastructure can evolve into that and to create frictionless experiences. Yeah, but some highlights from that program. So I recommend. I don't know if you're gonna build a new program of that, but yeah, highly recommend to all the founders.
Before I sort of give like a shorter Wormhole Sigma next steps, I want to give a huge shout out to Pao and Evgeny from our DevRel team. Like whenever I get added to a chat, Evgeny and Pao are already there. They're already helping everyone in the chat understand what's going on. You know, the DevRel team is so good that most of these doubts get solved in the chat itself, which is, you know, like I've worked at protocols in the past. It's pretty much unheard of. So you know, the way that these guys interact is awesome, and it feels really good to be part of the team where the DevRel team is so cracked. In terms of next steps for the Wormhole Sigma program, if you're building something that's unique in the space of interoperability where multi-chain is native and it's like a newer use case, that's something that I would love to hear about. The Sigma program is something that, you know, me and my team are taking care of now. We interact a lot with our current Sigma teams as well. One thing that we're also working on that I talked about was we're empowering Wormhole Sigma teams to become regional leaders. And, you know, what I've noticed is with myself, you know, I'm from India, a lot of what drives me is I'd love to help Indian founders succeed because, you know, I understand the demographic. I understand what Indian founders might need. What we believe is Wormhole Sigma teams that we support will have the same impact in that region as well. So if you're building something, Dan, Robinson, whoever, and we will talk about the Wormhole Sigma program with you. While I have you, I know we're going a little over. What I think would be awesome for the community to listen to in terms of closing notes is what's next for Share? When is public launch? You know, they create the mini apps. What's like other things that they can expect in the future?
Yeah. Well, now it's gonna be very soon the public launch for the beta. It's gonna be on September 18th, so stay tuned. So anyone can access, and we are having like a diverse experience for building these triggers and these mini apps. So after that, like we are like having, I cannot give a lot of details, but we are having great partners coming up. So yeah, the idea of having everywhere is really having everywhere. So we have an integration channel. So if you're a last solution and you want to integrate us, you can basically contact us, and we will give you support on that. And yeah, we will have some partners integrating our stack, and we will announce those in the next coming months. So we're moving more to a more mobile infrastructure. So also something that we're working, because we know that the mass adoption will come like to use like these kind of products on their phone. So the UR is something that we're working on very hard, and yeah, and AI. As you can see, we have an MCP, and we are also having new products coming up. We are like moving fast. Since the very beginning, we move very fast. So now it's time to share all the progress in this beta launch, and after that, we will announce more and more partners coming up. So stay tuned. Follow us on our social media on Share It Protocol. Thank you for having me here, Rachit.
Awesome. This is something that we're going to do a lot more on this call. You know, I really want to highlight the awesome work that our Sigma teams do. I want to highlight a lot more of the Wormhole ecosystem. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. This is probably where I miscalculated. I thought I'd have someone here to talk about Wormhole Connects. Next time, we're probably going to calculate this a little better so that we at least have Dan or Robinson here with me. But in this segment, at the end of the call, we usually talk about where Wormhole is headed next and some of the events that we attended. We saw Robinson talk about Wyoming. We were in Indonesia for CoinFest. This was actually a pretty awesome conference. We did a paddle event with Upbit Indonesia, which had a turnout about like 60, 70 people just wanting to play paddle. Fortunately, my leg is also okay now, so I was able to play as well. And then I was on a panel with Mega from the DYDX Foundation and the Hedera Foundation talking about yield in crypto. The other event that I was super happy to see was we hosted a native series called Wormhole Native. And the first destination was London. This was, organized by Carrie, our awesome events lead. Aussie from our team was also there. Stay tuned for this series. We're going to do a lot more events in Europe, especially. So yeah, stay tuned. The other thing that I do want to call out is one thing that we've been working with the fellows a lot more closely on is we want fellows to host a lot more events. Especially, I don't want to call them launch parties, I say, but there are a lot of partners and there are a lot of partnerships that just deserve a party, and we want to empower our fellows to host some of these parties for their community. Become the bridge for crypto, where they can invite some of their non-crypto friends and explain why this particular partnership or crypto in general is moving in a bullish trajectory. I've been tweeting a lot about the fellowship. Our team's been tweeting a lot about the fellowship. If you'd like to be part of the global fellowship or the 5 regional fellowships that we have right now, namely Brazil, India, Indonesia, Vietnam, and there's one more I'm forgetting. If you want to be part of any of these programs, please DM me or Kilo or Smith or Nilavo, anyone from our team, and we'd love to have you. Cool. In terms of where we are headed next, the next month is a very hectic travel month for me and the global expansion team. First, we'll be in KBW, and we will be attending a lot of the stablecoin and institutional events there. We will be at Token 2049 in Singapore, where we are co-sponsoring 2 events, namely Solana Apex Singapore and Multichain Day Singapore. Pao and myself will be here from the team. We will expect a lot more team members, but we will confirm that shortly. I'm giving a keynote at Solana Apex titled Connecting the Internet Economy, and then Pao is going to be speaking at Multichain Day. We will also go to Solana Apex in Mumbai. This is where me, Nilavo, and Smith will be heading to. We will also be giving a keynote there. Potentially me giving a keynote in Hindi. I don't know yet. That's something that we are figuring out. But yeah, that is the Wormhole Ecosystem Call. As always, if you have any feedback on any Wormhole product or portal or anything else, always feel free to DM me or anyone else from the team. Thank you so much. Have a great month, and I will see you next time.